We are live and we are quite a bit late this morning. It's Thursday, December the 8th, 2022. We've almost made it and we barely made it as we got here as it is. Jake Cleveland Payne is my name. This little ditty you're listening to or watching is called Things You Might Not Have Heard. It is brought to you by the Conversation Project, and you can find more details about those folks, basically me, by going to the website. This is theconversationproject.com. So we'll skip all the niceties and all the background stuff. Let's get into the news of the day. If you've been here before, you know how this works. If you haven't, 8 news stories coming at you right now to chat about for the start of your day. Let's go off with story number 1. Power restored to North Carolina county affected by shooting. Now, this is a story that was a weird thing from the weekend where power was out for about 40,000 customers in a county in North Carolina because somebody rolled into a power station and shot at it. And while at first people thought some sort of weird drunken prank, it turned into a serious investigation where people, number one, are pretty sure that they knew what they were doing. And number two, there's actually a lot of rumors, innuendos, and a lot of talk, chatter from a domestic terrorist on doing such things. This may not be an isolated incident. This may be a test of bigger things from people doing other stuff. And since it took 4 days to get power back on, it's a big struggle, especially as it gets colder in the wintertime, where it's not so much, just keeping on the fridge so you don't lose your food. It's heat for definitely staying alive. North Carolina officials and FBI are still investigating how this happened and who exactly did it, but this is looking to be a bit more ominous than it was at the first blush. Next story we're talking about today: Germany arrests 25 accused of plotting a coup. In related news, people are trying to take over governments and be really, really bad in other places as well. Germany arrested 25 people in individual places. So they weren't like all hanging out at the meeting, but they pulled 25 people, maybe a few more since the story was actually published, that were involved in this literally plot to take over the German government. We will know more about the plot and more about the people as they dig deeper and release more info. I'm sure there are more people involved that they don't want to spook off at the moment, but this was a pretty interesting story popping up. 25 people just sort of pulled at various random places because they were at home or at work or whatnot, who were accused of plotting a very serious takeover of the German government yesterday. Justice Department reports outline series of mistakes that led to prison beating death of Boston gangster Whitey Bulger. Number one, it was sort of a mystery how they actually kind of got Whitey Bulger in the end. I guess it wasn't a mystery. They figured it out and got him in jail, which is one of the notorious gangsters of all time in American history. The second thing is, much like the Epstein thing, how the man ended up dying in prison. How did he die in custody? There were a lot of errors, comedy, if you will, of errors that allowed for the situation where Whitey Bulger could be put in a situation where he could be surrounded by folks and beaten to death. Bad things happen to bad people, yes, but they're not supposed to happen in this way. When you're responsible, you're supposed to let people live out their justice, if you will. And we will learn more about this one. You'd read, if you're into, prison style stories, if you will, read this story if you missed it and go deeper into what happened here. It's pretty sad, but it's also more or less kind of the sign of how things work out or how things really work out in these cases. Bill Starr, linebacker Von Miller out for season with ACL injury. Von Miller trying to grab another Super Bowl ring, trying to grab another championship, trying to lead other teams with potential to make it there. In fact, that's why he is at Buffalo. Won't get a chance to do it this year, at least actively. His boys have to take care of them. Von Miller is out with his ACL injury. Hope he gets back on the field fairly soon. He's getting a bit older in age, so his years of beating down guys is coming to an end fairly soon. Hopefully, he gets a couple more seasons before he has to give it all up completely. Theranos' Sonny Balwani is sentenced to nearly 13 years in prison. Now, I know you, like me, was a little worried because when Elizabeth Holmes was sentenced the other day, you're thinking, dude, what happened to Sonny? Where's Sonny at? How come nobody's talking about Sonny these days? Well, we're talking about him now. For some reason, all the pushback, he was actually sentenced to a couple more things, so it's basically more time and more time. But Sonny Balwani, who is the partner of Elizabeth Holmes, who is sort of the inspiration to her, if you will, the sidekick, running buddy, who got a lot of blame in fact, a lot of blame from Elizabeth Holmes, who used him as part of her defense, saying that, he was abusive and mean, and that's why she was evil and cruel. Sonny Balwani is going to get 13 years of prison on his own accord for his dealings with Theranos, not the other guy, Theranos. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is under investigation by the House Ethics Committee. Now, the investigation idea, it's kind of murky in what's going on, but we believe this is going to be dealing with her time at the Met Gala ball, where she, wore a very, very pretty dress and hung out with celebrities. And because, conservatives are sort of stodgy and just don't like her, are trying to say she was trying to overthrow the government or something. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what's happening going on, but she is under investigation by the House Ethics Committee. Maybe the dress cost too much. Maybe the dinner cost too much. Maybe somebody gave her a purse. I don't know what exactly it is. If this comes to something, we will know. If it comes to nothing, it's probably nothing. Not that I'm defending AOC, but it's probably nothing. We will see. If it comes to something, we'll talk about it. I'm not defending. It's just sort of, I don't understand what the deal is. Literally don't understand what the deal is. Gen Z parents refusing to teach their kids about Santa Claus claim it's traumatizing. I'm going to let that sit right there. We're running a little bit behind. So I'm going to let that sit right there. That means a shorter show because we're going to let you click on that one and read that for yourselves. Yeah, we're going to let that sit. You can click on the link for that one in the description of the video or the podcast and go read that yourselves. Gen Z parents refusing to teach their kids about Santa because it's traumatizing. For whom is the question. Toni Collette announces divorce from her husband as photos of him kissing another woman surface. This is another one that it was kind of hard to put in there. We had to fill out 8 slots. We were running a little behind today, so it was one there. And everybody loves Toni Collette, so that's a reason to put it in there, even though it's not a great news from her. Go read more about what's going on. We are backing off on celebrity infidelity things as we should and try not to turn them into gossip stuff. So we're announcing it here, giving you the details on this early right here. And then as anything actually develops, we will go with that. So this is probably the last time we'll actually talk about this unless she talks about it and turns into more news to talk about. But this is the story we're wrapping up with today. Toni Collette divorcing her husband after some not so nice photos of him kissing other women popped up. Our teaser for tomorrow. Will we talk about this story tomorrow? Regular Fox News guest caught trashing the network on Hot Mic. A person, that's Flo, that's not the guest. A person who is a contributor to Barstool Sports, is a common contributor to Jesse Waters' show. I guess it's Waters World, I guess what it's called. And in an interview segment they were doing on the stuff he normally does for not Bleacher Report, the other guys, Barstool Sports. Apparently, they let the mic on towards the end of the podcast, and he was just kind of ragging on the guys at Fox News. We'll get into some things he talked about if you deem this one worthy of talking about. But we're going to talk about the Fox News host, our guest, trashing the network on Hot Mic and another station. Fox or Facebook.com/thisisconversation, got Fox in the brain, and Twitter.com/th_conversation. Those are our feeds. Follow them, and this story will be posting in a few minutes, or maybe right about now as you're listening to this live. Check it out. Like, love, hate, enjoy any story on the listing. We post news headlines every 50 minutes. The more you engage with the headline, the better chance you get a chance to see it, hear it, talk about it on the show here. And we can do it pretty quickly, apparently, sometimes. Under 10 minutes right now. I guess that's what happens when you're running 10 minutes behind. You find a way to speed things up. Let's talk about also real quick about sponsorships. We can't speed that up. It's going to happen, and we need your help to keep things going. We want your help. We're doing it by offering you something in return. Quid pro quo, if you will. Stop by our link for the Blinkist app at thisistheconversationproject.com/Blinkist. And if you have that person who loves to read and loves gifts, because we all love gifts, and you want to give someone a great gift, give them the gift of Blinkist. Blinkist is an app that allows you to ingest regular sized books in less time. They take nonfiction books and autobiographies and whittle them down into the essence of their ideas. They call them blinks. So a book that might take 4 hours unabridged can be listened to in 15 minutes. A book that could take maybe 12 hours unabridged, probably done in about 20 minutes. You get it all via the joys of the Blinkist app. And this is what really cool. If you want to gift it to yourself, you can also just buy it for yourself and then put another person on your subscription. And you can share your subscription with someone else and they have the joy and love the Blinkist app. How about that? Blinkist has you covered with all the great nonfiction books. And as new ones are produced, they are quickly having them written down into blinks and then narrated for your listening or reading pleasure. You can either read them in the blink form or listen to them in audio form. Check it out at thisistheconversationproject.com/Blinkist. This is theconversationproject.com/Blinkist, Blinkist. We have other sponsors on our website, so check that out, and we'll talk about that literally in moments if you want to check out other sponsors. But today's main sponsor is the Blinkist app and Blinkist. And as I said, literally right now, this is theconversationproject.com. There's a sponsors button so you can see other sponsors that can help you out. There's a partnership button that may allow you to partner up with us if you think we're giving you great content to help keep things going. There are links to the feeds, which are also over there. Yes. And links to all the places you can find us. We're going to do some TikTok stuff. I promise. We have some ideas for TikTok stuff. It's just, this face apparently doesn't work out for TikTok. And it takes like days for them to cover. So doing breaking news, live news, right now news doesn't really work as well. So commentary stuff, we'll have to work on that as well. But we'll do some stuff there. Promise. At the TikTok. Find it all at thisistheconversationproject.com. Once the button clicks. December 8th, birthdays for more of your today things you might not have heard. Happy birthday to Kim Basinger, Vicky Vale, who's 69 years old. Terry Hatcher, of course, Lois Lane at 58. And Nicki Minaj, your next Bond woman. Or villain. Hell, she can be the Bond villain. She can do it all. Hitting the big 40 today. One thing I do know she'll be hitting, probably some aches and pains and using a bit more of those little creams to kind of heal some of the soreness because she ain't a spring chicken anymore, but still knocking out the park, as is Terry Hatcher and Kim Basinger. Today is Brownie Day. Today is also Pretend You're from the Future Day. Pretend you're a time traveler day. And I am from the future. I travel back in time for about, 10 hours. And brownies will be happening today. There you go. So you don't have to go to the future. You just make your future a trip to the store and get some brownies. Celebrate brownies on the day. Why the hell not? Let's move on to one more thing you might not have heard. Back to Santa Claus. For those of you who aren't a silly Gen Z person who doesn't want to believe in the magic, here's a story. And this is a story that really, when I saw this, I was going to do another tip, but I went to this one because it literally brought back a childhood memory. And a good one, but let me read the story for you first. A study out of Sweden found that Santa's Christmas Eve journey in homes around the world may seem impossible, but with 2.5 billion homes, he needs only 34 microseconds at each stop. Researchers figured there are 48 people per square kilometer on Earth and 20 meters between each home. So if Santa travels against the Earth's rotation, that's the other way around because it's dark, he has 48 hours to deliver all the presents. See how that works there? He gets extra time because he's going the opposite direction. Now, how is this related to me and why am I turning it to myself? One, because I'm me. Two, in the 6th grade, as we were preparing for Christmas break, our math teacher wanted nothing to do with us for, a day, the last day of classes. And we were pretty rowdy and just kind of out there. So he gave us an assignment with an incentive. The incentive, I've long forgotten what it was, but we had the class period, the whole time as a class, to figure out how Santa Claus could deliver all the toys, all the kids in approximately 14 hours. That's what he gave us. And for some reason, because we're 6th graders, and we're not very bright, we spent the entire hour trying to figure out how Santa Claus could get to all the houses. We were curious. We weren't very bright. Didn't realize he just didn't want to talk to us. It's all a big combination of stuff. But I remember that expressively because he was one of my favorite teachers of all time, Mr. Greenfield. And it was just like, okay, kids, here's the deal. Give me an answer to this one. It's math, so figure it out. We obviously couldn't figure it out. The guys in Sweden have, and they I'll say they cheated because they gave him 48 hours going backwards. We weren't given the chance to go against the Earth's rotation and get a full 2 days worth of time to do this. But we figured it was pretty fast. End of story. And now, end of show. This has been Things You Might Have Heard for Thursday, December 8th, 2022. My name is Jay Cleveland Payne. This story and the rest of the stuff can be found in perpetuity or somewhere like that in a podcast form in a few moments. And as I see this, and of course, the video that's going to replay on the YouTubes and the Facebook going forward. If you're watching it in the recordings, thank you so much. Tell us where you're from. Put us something in the comments so we know what's going on. If there are stories that you may have missed this morning, there was a story that was basically requested yesterday that we actually posted 2 days ago. So it wasn't in the listing, so it didn't make its way in there. And so it happens. You could go look up a story about Earl, Arkansas, and the 18-year-old mayor. It's an interesting story, but it comes down to some things we don't have time to chat on about. Essentially, Your Vote Matters story, if you will. The youngest mayor in the nation, young black guy in a place called Earl, Arkansas. Check that out. Interesting story. Interesting how we got there. In the meantime, make sure you're staying hydrated. Didn't have time to get coffee this morning, so it's water. Staying limber, staying on task. If you need someone to talk to, if you're not feeling so great, dial 988 on your cell phone. Text 988 on your cell phone. Someone will talk to you 24/7 in English or in Spanish. In the meantime, oddly enough, being rushed and having things thrown at you, including the slides not working, pretty good show, pretty tight show. I'm not sure I can ever do this again because I don't think I can breathe. But we're going to see what happens tomorrow, and with a hopefully more time to stretch it out to normal parameters as we wrap out the week on tomorrow. So already posting stories for you to engage in. So get engaging, and let's see you tomorrow morning.